what was very powerful for us when it came to the business case and trying to articulate the value of this was outlining the risk of doing nothing. This actually is quite powerful. So we talk, all the numbers and all the good stuff is great, but here's what it's going to cost us for doing nothing, right? So in our case, it's maybe a competitor is first to do it. Our addressable market shrinks. We miss out on a certain opportunity. I think it goes without saying, find that one champion in the executive team. Is typically your sales leader or your chief revenue officer. One thing that was really important for myself and our team was because there were so many implications on the finance side, tax side, collections, FX, involving the CFO and his team really early on to hammer some of these things out and make sure they're comfortable, they're aligned, and some of these things can take a while to process.
Join our 5-week course on cloud marketplaces and learn how to tap into the $250 billion spend that enterprises have committed to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Discover the future of go-to-market with Roman. During weekly sessions, you'll learn how to leverage this fast-growing channel and network with industry experts and partnership leaders. We'll dive into marketplace strategies, internal buy-in, building relationships with the cloud, and mastering co-sell. Join our upcoming cohort.
I'm really excited to have Manav. He spent 5 years in McKinsey. He worked directly with banks and executives, so he knows a lot of things about executive alignment, executive buy-in, and so on. He is currently leading global partnership development in banking cloud, Mambu. He will talk a little bit more about that. Manav was instrumental in designing Mambu's cloud marketplace strategy. Today, we're going to be talking about sort of cloud marketplace tactics, and we're going to be talking about aligning incentives, understand the differences between cloud, and more.
Second half of my career was focused very much on the management consulting side. So I spent a number of years at McKinsey doing a number of different types of projects across strategy, digital, org redesign, primarily focused on financial services. And now I work at Mambu. We are a cloud native API first core banking platform. So what that means is, for those not familiar with the banking space, every banking tech stack has a number of different layers to it. And we are essentially literally the core or the heart of it, which basically stores all transaction data for customers and all sensitive customer information. We essentially deliver this in a software as a service delivery model and have a very unique proposition of being multi-cloud. So we're actually live and generally available on AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure, just given our scale and reach, right? We have a very diverse range of customers. So these range from your greenfield neobanks, digital banks, and fintechs, but also your more established tier one banks, as well as what's getting very interesting now is these non-financial institutions, such as telcos, retailers, big tech, now coming into the financial services space with 250 customers in 65 countries. And every day, about 100 million end users are supported by our product. One of the big principles of what we do is what we call composable banking. So what this means is we enable next generation financial services providers create best of breed technology stacks using the cloud and other software as a service vendors to enable them to deliver products much faster, much smoother, with much better resilience. And why that's important, because by design, this is essentially, just think of it as Lego blocks, where we are one piece of building a house of Lego. And this by design and by nature means that we are a very partner-centric organization. So we have 200 plus partners that we work with. And this is everyone from your big global systems integrators, the Deloittes, the McKinseys, and others, but also other technology providers like the cloud service providers, CRM providers like Salesforce, basically anything that can integrate with us. And this has actually been a very, very important part of our commercial growth in the last few years. As of today, as of last fiscal year, we were partner touched. Our deals, over 60% of our deals were partner touched, and this number is growing year on year. So this means a partner has either involved us in a deal and brought us into it, or is helping us influence and close that. So it's a very, very big part of our business model today, and this number is only going to be growing, and at some point it will touch 100%. If we look today, only 13% of financial institutions have at least more than half of their workloads on public cloud. But at the same time, over 50% of them intend to migrate at least half their workloads to the public cloud in the next 5 years. So very, poor starting point today, but strong conviction and desire to move, and there's investment being put behind that, which also brings them a lot of benefits in terms of agility, scale, resilience, but also cost savings. So about 40% or so is the estimated cost savings from moving to the cloud. So we're almost at a perfect storm of kind of cloud adoption in this industry, which essentially is driving a big move towards cloud marketplaces and the cloud, right? As more workloads and there's more conviction to move to the cloud, there's more of a move towards purchasing and procuring through the marketplaces, right? And this is bringing a lot of benefits to both ISVs like ourselves, but also the end customers. And what are some things driving this, right? So from the perspective of a bank, it's a very complex vendor landscape that they have to manage now, right? So modern technology stack can have anywhere, 20, 25, 30 different vendors offering different pieces of the functionality. So very complex to manage from a procurement vendor management perspective. As more workloads are going to the cloud, banks are now signing up more and more multi-year, multi-million-dollar cloud commitments with the CSPs, especially the big ones, AWS, Google, and Microsoft. For example, Deutsche Bank, great example, a public reference. They've signed $1 billion commitment with Google Cloud. So huge upside there for the CSPs and ISVs like ourselves. And we're also seeing the CSPs invest very, very heavily in this, right? It's a big growth pillar for them. So they're giving their sellers much more incentives. There's dedicated funding pools for marketing, for deal acceleration, because they're also creating a bit of an ecosystem of people to use their sort of services, but also the ISVs and the ecosystem. Diving in a bit to what that journey looked like for myself, right, on my team. There was many steps along the way, and I'd like to walk you through a bit kind of the journey we took, what some of the things we looked at.
You walked through this entire journey over the last, let's say, like a year, a little bit more than that. Kind of using this framework that you showed, kind of tell the story how you've done it.
On the business case side, it was very much really creating like a 7-8 page memo, which was literally structured around, okay, here's the upside we're going to get in terms of revenue, right? In terms of new customers, sales potential, addressable market. In terms of cost, I think the key cost for us was twofold. One was there's a marketplace fee. There was a fee we had to take. We had to make an investment on some tooling to help us integrate because we were going multi-cloud, and time to market was of the essence for us, and we didn't have the engineering capacity to do all three, so we needed to spend there. And the third was we needed some additional headcount because we needed someone in our partner operations function to actually come on in and manage these portals for us, help us with the offer creations, detailing out of the processes. And there was a number of operational implications you have to highlight, right? So we're a complex B2B selling business. We decided to go private offer only, and that needed some additional steps in the whole process. So we needed new legal contracts because our MSAs had to cover new payment terms, marketplace fees, all of this stuff. So there's a big stream of work on the legal side. The second big stream of work was around the finance side of things, because collections and billing was completely different. As things were today, you bill a customer directly and he or she pays you within 30 days or 60 days. Now it's a CSP billing a customer. There's a lead time on a number of days that you get things in. There's foreign exchange risk. There's withholding tax implications. There's a whole stream of work on the finance side that had to be done. Third was there's a stream of work on the marketing side of things, which essentially what's the listing going to look like, what sort of branding you need, what are you going to include. There was a commercial and RevOps piece as well, because the marketplace fee was impacting margins on deals. So how will you treat that? Would you penalize your sellers? Would you treat it as a cost of sale? How would you think through that? As well as revenue recognition, because suddenly your payment terms are changing from say 30 days to 120 days. So how do you then recognize revenue? So there's multiple streams you had to think of, and what really worked for us was forming a bit of a cross-functional working group when it came to the delivery side of things. So making sure, so once we got the sponsorship from the executives, making sure that each of the ExCo members appointed someone to be part of that working group. So we had someone from legal, from finance, marketing, partner ops, rev ops, partnerships, right? And this made sure, this had two effects. I think one was we had subject matter experts for every single work stream or swim lane. And the second is we also were able to get a full 360 view of all requirements. Because again, it was a new territory for us. But having a legal person at the table, a finance person at the table, a partnership person, a marketing person, everyone was able to kind of really see what was needed, right? What were the changes in the processes? What were the new requirements? From the time we were ready to press play, we had covered 80-90% of the things that need to be done. What was very powerful for us when it came to the business case and trying to articulate the value of this was outlining the risk of doing nothing, right? So this actually is quite powerful. So we talk, all the numbers and all the good stuff is great, but here's what it's going to cost us for doing nothing, right? So in our case, it's maybe a competitor is first to do it. Our addressable market shrinks. We miss out on a certain opportunity. So that actually is quite powerful to move and it resonates quite well with executives. I think to Saket's point, I think defining that CSP strategy early on, whether you're going to be single cloud or multi-cloud, and really for us, it was driven by what segments of customers and which geographies we launch in. It's important to do that very early on because this has implications on how you go to market. What is your implementation approach? So do you want to do the integration yourself? Do you want to use a third-party tool? So these things all sort of trickle down from that. In terms of the sponsorship side, what worked well was, I think goes without saying, find that one champion in the executive team that is typically your sales leader or your chief revenue officer, and that person becomes your sort of go-to person to help influence and move other members on that leadership team. One thing that was really important for myself and our team was because there were so many implications on the finance side, tax side, collections, FX, involving the CFO and his team really early on to hammer some of these things out and make sure they're comfortable, they're aligned, and some of these things can take a while to process, right? Depending on the scale of the situation. In terms of implementation, I think listing approach we talked about, determining that a bit as early on as possible, right? Are you going to be doing private offers only? Are you doing public offers? Are you doing a mix of both? Because this influences a whole bunch of things along the way in terms of how you want to show your pricing. Do you show your pricing at all? What's the listing going to look like? What sort of training you need to give to people? What the process documentation will be. So this has a lot of implications as well. The cross-functional working group we talked about, there's many things that change. So important to get them working together and having someone on the hook to deliver each of those work streams. And then the tech integration requirements, right? And I think this also flows a little bit from how many clouds you want to launch on. Do you want to do private versus public? What are you optimizing for? Is it speed to market? Are you trying to capture certain opportunities? So, and do you have the capacity at in-house to do it? In terms of go-to-market, one thing that's important for us is to make sure the go-to-market motion resonates well with the CSPs. Is really making sure as much as possible, aligning a bit that joint proposition or that better together story with some of their strengths and their existing offerings. As an example, if you look at Microsoft, they have a lot of applications, a CRM with Dynamics, Microsoft Teams, and other suite of products. So how can we position our product and what is the interplay of our product with their product suite to make sure the story is quite strong and resonates with their sellers, right? With AWS, it's a little bit different. They have more services, right, that they like people to build upon. So what is the interplay of your product or platform with that? And I felt that created a bit of stickiness across their seller community to help remember and sell your product.